Welcome to the JSE Market Data Policy Guide. Our policies are designed to help market data professionals and data distributors understand the use of each policy, emphasize the applicability thereof, and enhance compliance with the regulations pertaining to the use and distribution of our market data. There are 5 documents which make up your agreement with the JSE, and they are the JSE Data Agreement or Indices Data Agreement, the Product and Services Form, the Market Data Policies or Indices Market Data Policies, the JDA, which is the JSE Data Agreement, or IIDA, which is the Indices Data Agreement, as well as related price lists. Finally, there might be technical documents if applicable. In this session, I will be taking you through Information for Education Policy. Sections include Introduction, Definition and Application, and Conditions of Use, as well as the regular access and ad hoc requests. Introduction, Definition and Application. Educational institution means schools, universities, colleges, and students thereof. Educational institutions may, subject to the terms of this policy, submit a written request to the JSE for access to data for no consideration. The requests must be submitted to the market data team via mdclients@jse.co.za. Conditions of use. This policy applies only to delayed data, end-of-day data, and historical data. Live data is excluded. The educational institution may only use the data provided in terms of this policy to support educational activities and may not use any data, directly or indirectly, for any other purpose whatsoever. Unless otherwise stated in this policy, the customer is not responsible for any obligations of the educational institution. The educational institution must provide the JSE with details of the data required, the intended use of the data, how often it will receive the data, how the data is intended to be made available, for example, through a terminal device at the educational institution or through web-based access, and such other details as the JSE may reasonably request. Regular access versus ad hoc requests. These are some examples. An educational institution offering financial courses would like to expose its students to the volatility in the financial markets and would therefore like access to data on an ongoing basis. A student is doing the study on the impact of the weather on the risk appetite of commodity investors and needs data for a specific period to correlate against weather patterns. They would make a once-off request for historical data. The JSE will not provide data on a continuous basis directly to an educational institution. This type of data provision must be obtained from a customer. An example would include a market data vendor. The educational institution will, prior to being allowed to use the data, be required to sign an education IP dispensation letter provided by the JSE that will govern inter alia the use of the data. A customer must ensure that the conditions of this policy are complied with and must, before providing any data to an educational institution or student thereof, receive confirmation from the JSE that both the JSE and the educational institution have signed the educational institution dispensation letter. Request for ad hoc access. The student must provide reasonable proof that they are a current and legitimate student with an educational institution. The JSE may request access to the student's research or thesis paper upon completion, which may be used for the benefit of the JSE and/or JSE employees. Where required by the JSE, the student must sign a student dispensation letter directly with the JSE that will oblige the student to provide the research or thesis paper to the JSE upon completion for use by the JSE. The student dispensation letter requires the student to ensure that, to the extent allowed by the law, the JSE is absolved of any liability arising from its access and reference to the data. If the cost and/or effort is too high for the JSE to provide the data at no consideration, the JSE will provide the student with a quote for the provision of the relevant data or direct the student to a customer that has access to such data to request such customer to provide such data to the student in accordance with this policy. Where a customer provides the data to a student, it must ensure that the conditions of this policy are complied with and must, before providing any data to the student, receive written confirmation from the JSE that both the JSE and the student have signed the student dispensation letter. Thank you. For more information, please email mdclients@jsc.co.za.